Hello, hello, and welcome to Temple of the Fallspawn, where our decks are not optimized, but our plays sure as heck are fun. I'm Andy.
Hi, I'm Bruce.
Yes, you are. And this is the second week of our little break, where we do little mini episodes. Because what else are we going to do between seasons? We're going to talk about cards that we liked, or, little vignettes, cards or interactions, something that's been on our mind about the game. And, right. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, we have a YouTube channel, by the way. We're testing out doing this on video because we were thinking about maybe doing our 10th season also as video on YouTube. So, this is just me testing it out. If you see us now, hello! Last week we talked about Hearthstone, one of Bruce's favorite cards. This week I brought 5 cards to the table, Bruce.
Greedy,
I'm a little greedy. I'm a little greedy gremlin. But these cards speak to me, or at least 3 of them. I'll just cut to the chase. This week I brought the Court Cycle from Commander Legends, because I think we need more cards like that. This cycle came out in Commander Legends, as I said, and I think that they kind of expanded upon it in Battle for Baldur's Gate with the Ancient Dragon cycle. The Ancient Dragons, they get through for damage, you roll a d20, big thing happens. Awesome. I love these big splashy spells. This is what the format was based on, and we need more of them, especially in these like weird draft formats that are apparently more niche than people realized. I mean, I think that goofy multiplayer draft formats goes hand in hand with Commander, and we need to really embrace this. I can't wait for Commander Legends 3, Battle Bond 2. That's my
from Mark Rosewater. I think we're out of luck on that one. But
let's see. I can do this again. Commander Legends 3, Unbattle Bond. Take the crown. So it's just a jumble of all of the greatest draft formats of all time. Conspiracy, Battle Bond, obviously Commander Legends, and just throw some Silver Border or Acorn in there.
How about the Commander Legends Uninspired?
Oh, yeah, there we go. And it's
maybe
just
that doesn't come the way I want it to. Uninspired. Uninspired. And each of the draft packs is like this big. And like it's like 10 and 10 next to each other, but then you also have a playing card that it'd be sweet, just like you draft the planes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way plane chase is supposed to be played. You're supposed to be building like you can draft the planes.
But I mean, we just need more planes out there,
Yeah. Andy, let's talk about your card.
My cards today. I've got 4 of them. Nope, I've got 5 of them.
5.
Cycle, Andy, cycle. Sorry. Sometimes I just forget blue's a color. And honestly, surprisingly, it's the least interesting here. So the idea behind this cycle is that when they're all enchantments, when they come into play, you become the monarch. And then something happens if this enchantment's on the battlefield at your upkeep. And something better happens if you're also the monarch. So I'm going to quickly go through them. I guess in Wooburg order. So first up, we've got Court of Grace, which is 2 white. Enters the battlefield, become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying, which on its own. What?
Underwhelming.
It's
underwhelming. I mean,
it's a free flying blocker, which is phenomenal.
Yes. Right. I just don't know that I want to pay 4. Now,
it's every turn.
Yes, I appreciate in our longer games that can pay off because in our games you could get like 7 or 8 of these 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying because our games just go that long.
But man, I'm more excited about the next part.
Yeah, if you're the monarch, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying instead. Which, I mean, if you had divine visitation already out, then you're already getting those. But
Yeah.
This 1/4 mana enchantment, if you're the monarch, at the beginning of your upkeep, you get a 4/4, which is amazing. And I mean, if you're already playing a token deck, which you're in white and you're making tokens, like you probably already are, like you probably have, ways to either give them vigilance, pump them up. You're dealing with tokens, and I think that this design knocks it out of the park for white. I think that I think as we go on, we'll see them getting increasingly better in terms of the massive amount of payoff and the how hard it is for other people to get the monarch back. I think the fact that with Court of Grace, you're creating blockers will make it harder for your opponents to get the monarch to then stop you from getting 4/4s. It's amazing.
Right. And to be fair, those 1/1 flyers, they are a great way to get the monarch back.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, their evasion, and you can usually slip through and manage to steal away the monarch. So,
the next one is the blue one,
yes.
Court of Cunning for 3 mana, 1 blue. Enters, become the monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, any number of target players each mill 2 cards, which is much more underwhelming. Like if you're playing the mill strategy, I don't know what to tell you. 2 at a time is not great.
Right. This is a card. If that's what you're looking at, you're running it in decks where you have a ton of recursion.
Yeah.
Because you want to get your own cards into the graveyard. And this mill any number of target players, so you are always going to be targeting yourself in this mill.
You're probably playing it with red to get instants and sorceries back, or you're playing it with black to get creatures back, or care about graveyard stuff. If you're the monarch, each of those players mills 10 cards instead. This card is a very specific card. I'd say it's the worst out of the cycle, but it's very specific in the way that, if that is what you're trying to do, then it is great. It's great at what it does, especially if you're the monarch. But I mean, even in Bruvek the Grandiloquent says if an opponent would mill 1 or more cards, they mill twice that many cards instead. If you're the monarch, they're milling 20. Great. That's a fifth of their deck. But it's very, very specific.
I will say, for this one, you really do have to have it in the mill strategy. But the mill strategy then doesn't necessarily have ways to get the monarch back. I mean, you're going to have ways to protect your own life total, but not necessarily ways to take somebody else's. So if you do ever lose the monarch, and to be fair, folks are going to gun for you. If you're the monarch, they want to be able to draw cards, so they're going to come after you. So you're trying to hold it, and you've got everybody coming after you. If you lose it, this is going to be hard to get it back. So I agree with Andy. I'm a little less excited about this one.
I think that's the thing about these cards too, is that the initial downside isn't even people are gunning for you so that you don't get the bigger thing. People are gunning for you because they want to draw an extra card, which is great. I love cards that really make people go for attacking, move the game along. I love this kind of thing, and having drafted this format only a handful of times, it really if you build your deck around the monarchy, people are going to be attacking you, and you need to be okay with that, and B, you need to have backup strategies. With this next one, I feel like the black one is too wordy for its own good.
Okay.
Because I feel like it can be misinterpreted fairly easily. So the black one is Court of Ambition. It's 2 black. When it enters, you become the monarch, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses 3 life unless they discard a card. So they have an option. They can either discard a card or lose 3 life. If you are the monarch, instead, each opponent loses 6 life unless they discard 2 cards. So they have an option again. And I feel like I've read this card so many times, and it wasn't into like. I feel like every time I read it, I'm like, oh, I thought that said and. Like losing a card and 3 life seems like a lot, and it is because it's not what this card does. But losing a card or losing 3 life, I like the option that it gives to the opponent. I mean, unless you're building around this card, which you probably are, in which they have no cards in hand, and then they're just going to gun for you because they don't have any cards in hand, and you did that to them. Like, you're playing a discard deck, and doesn't feel good. Like, I'd rather be milled than forced to discard every turn. I don't have much to say about this card. I like the design.
Yep.
Unless your deck is a Turgid deck, this is a completely fine enchantment. I think that if you're not building around discard, I think that this does an adequate job at 4 mana of doing a thing that keeps the game moving.
Yeah, I'm always nervous about any card that forces or that makes people discard.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been something that my opponents have never been excited about doing. I know I'm not excited about discarding. So I'm a little nervous. I do feel like 3 life is a pretty minor amount to pay. But when you start paying it repeatedly, at some point people are going to get sick of the card. So, but I mean, hey.
The red one, I believe, is next. Yes? Yes.
Yep.
My favorite one. But maybe that's because I've been able to have it go off so many times. So, this is 5 mana in red, which is honestly not that hard to do post treasures.
Yeah.
So it's 3 red. When it enters battlefield, you become the monarch. Great. At the beginning of your upkeep, Court of Ire. I don't think I mentioned what it was called. Court of Ire. Court of Ire deals 2 damage to any target. You get a free shock every turn. Amazing. Pays itself off in like 2 turns because you're also getting card draw at the end of turn. If you're the monarch, it deals 7 damage to that player or permanent instead. This is a house because you're either getting a free shock per turn, and in red, if you have like a bunch of like goblins or something or any sort of way to block combat, you're going to be getting 7 fairly easy. And this, I mean, where I struggle with it is that I've gotten this out early enough that people don't have attackers. And then I just start doing 7 to people's faces. And that's almost a feel bad. But also, like, you're speeding the game up pretty fast.
Well, and if you can get to that spot, it also doesn't hurt that you can deal 7 damage to the creature that comes out.
Oh, yeah,
so
definitely.
Then it starts being a case of, no, I don't want you to be able to take the monarch away from me. Pow! I'm getting rid of your creature. Pow! I get rid of your creature. So that you guarantee that don't have anything to block. My thing with this is the difference between the 2 damage and the 7
is huge.
Yeah, I know it's 5. But like, 2 damage is virtually nothing in a game of Commander. A person takes 2 to the dome, whatever. You tick off your total, who cares? A creature takes 2 damage. Most creatures are at least 3, 4, 5 toughness.
Yeah.
Most of them take that damage and then nothing else, and then there's no downside. Remember, this damage comes on your upkeep. So it's not like you can time it so that it's like, hey, surprise in combat or anything. No. This is right up front. Bang. Your creature now has 2 points of damage on it. You'll want to keep that in mind when combat comes around and I swing your way, because you're just not going to want to block with that creature. But in the end, 2 damage is almost nothing. 7 kills almost any creature on the board, or it does significant damage to someone's face. I mean, that's a real number. That's six hits and you're dead. Now, I know. You're not getting 6 hits at 7 damage per pop, but it's 7 damage. When a creature swings in and hits you for 7, you feel it. This is doing it, and there's a chance that it could do it again the next turn. Ugh. That
and
is
it's
harsh.
free. It's free.
Yes,
and it's
it just keeps coming.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I mean, I think, and I'll talk about this after I get through the last one. So never mind. The last one is the green one, which is good as well. Like,
yes,
I feel like the red and green ones were really strong. The white one I really liked. The black one was fine, and the blue one is garbage. Get out of here. Anyway, the green one,
Court of
Bounty. Enters the battlefield to become the monarch. Amazing. Two green, so 4 mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Cool. You're getting an extra land drop per turn. It does not come in tapped, but you have to have it before your draw. If you're the monarch, instead, you may put a creature or land from your hand onto the battlefield. So if you're playing green, this is your whole deck, creatures and land, and you're having a ball. I mean, turn 3 comes around, and you put this down, and then turn 4, you get your 7 mana cost creature out. Like, amazing. This does not see enough play for what it is. Because if you're not the monarch, you're getting extra land drops. You're going from your 4 lands to play this to your next turn getting 6 mana. Like that.
This one again, I mean, we talked about Court of Ire and the difference between 2 and 7. Land or dude, yes, I'm generally always happy to be able to put a land card from my hand onto the battlefield. But being able to put a creature, like, whoa, hang on, because I happen to run some expensive creatures.
It's green after all, yeah.
And like, you're doing this on your upkeep. It's at no cost. No cost.
And like, I would pay almost any of these costs just for an enchantment that says you become the monarch. Like the delta between if you're the monarch and you're not the monarch is huge in green and red. But like, even the floor of that, of not being the monarch, it being your upkeep, you have this on the battlefield, is fantastic for both green and red.
Well,
and
right.
It's it's amazing.
Right. Now, I look at this and I sort of compare it to how I measure this sort of the same way I measure planeswalkers.
Mm-hmm.
I look at a planeswalker that has an ultimate ability, and I don't look at the ultimate ability. Show me the plus ability, show me the minus ability, and I will decide from those two whether or not I think this planeswalker is worth playing. Because I'm probably never going to get to cast that ultimate. Or maybe I will, but it's rare. With each of the courts, my +1 is the monarch, my -1 is the beginning of my upkeep if I'm not the monarch, blah. So I'm getting those 2 abilities all the time. If I'm the monarch on my upkeep, I get the ultimate.
Yeah.
Great. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen that often.
In green and red, the green and red ones here, like the effect of just being the monarch during your upkeep is game changing. Like, it is huge. It's almost too big that like not seeing these is surprising, to say the least. Like, I would expect that a few people that we play with would be playing them more, just because of sheer like awe. like it's such a spectacle when they do resolve. I think my thing with these is that it isn't necessarily about running more enchantment removal, which like we all should be, but I think it's more so running more cards that say become the monarch, like either against these cards or if you are playing these cards, like I think the monarch should be part of more games than I generally see them. Like, I see it in Queen Marchesa decks, and that's kind of it. Of ones that I'm not playing. And I think that, like, I hope that with Commander Legends 3 or whatever the next Commander Legends thing is, or the next Conspiracy or the next Battle Bond, like, I hope
Oh God, I can't even think of how Monarch would happen in Two-Headed Giant. I hope to see more of this happens, become the Monarch, because I feel like it just they had a thing going with Commander Legends 1 where they were starting to really add the Monarch to more colors,
right?
And it was fantastic, and I want to see more of it.
Yes,
because that's how you counter these cards, is becoming the Monarch rather than getting rid of enchantments.
See, and to me, the next cycle of cards that relate to the Monarch, I want them to say, when card of this cycle enters the battlefield, target opponent becomes the Monarch.
Oh, you want a Jared Carthalion deck?
Yeah. I want, here, you take it. You guys can fight over this. I want to do it like that. Basically, here, the rest of you can draw cards. Just stop swinging at me. Here we go.
Yeah.
Done. So I want a Jared Carthalion.
Have you played that card before?
No, but I've played with Andrew McGreeny, and he has played that card before.
It's a great little card. I love it.
Yeah.
But I've definitely gone over time. But man, I just love this cycle, and I hope to see similar things happen. So we'll be back next week. Happy New Year, everyone. Hope everyone's enjoying their winter. Hope it was 70 degrees out today in LA. Ransom Aaron's had a light sweatshirt on. It was too much. But hey, we're excited to share Season 10 with you. We've got a lot of cool things in store. Or at least I think so. Because I totally have them all planned out. We'll see you next week for the exciting season premiere of Season 10 of Temple of the False Pod, where our decks are not optimized, but our plays sure as heck are fun. I'm Andy.
I'm Bruce.
Play some Magic for me. Or invite us to be on your stream so that I can play some Magic. I don't play enough Magic. Maybe I'll have gotten out of the house by now. I don't know. Play some Magic for me, and may your 5th land be the Temple.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Hey everyone, Andy here. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Temple of the False Pod. Just a few housekeeping things here at the end of the show. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, pretty much wherever you can find podcasts. Subscribe and give us a review. It really helps out the show. And it'll show us what you like about our podcast. Also, we've got a Twitter and an Instagram. Our handle is FalsePodMTG, all one word. So be sure to follow us. Feel free to reach out to us there or drop us an email at falsepodmtg@gmail.com and tell us your favorite Magic-related story. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again to you and to Bruce. He's Mana Burned on Twitter, and I'm Andy Weekend on Twitter and Twitch. We're Temple of the False Pod, where our decks aren't optimized, but our plays sure as heck are fun. Have a great night, and may your 5th land be the Temple.